Good evening. It has been a long, long time since I have done a broadcast on my own, right? So it's I feel a little rusty. It's good to see everybody. Just hey, Kimmy, let me know. Pop in here. Let me know who's on because, of course, I can't see who's on until you comment. But yeah, tonight's word was definitely one that kind of came over a gradual period of time, but also swiftly. And I felt very, very heavily yesterday. The Lord saying, "I want you to do this. I want you to release this tomorrow." And of course, I wrestled with Him at that, and I'm like, I don't want to. Um, just because it's pretty weighty, but it's important. And you know me, I wouldn't be doing this if it were my own volition, my own conjuring, or my own words, right? So I'm going to just kind of jump right into it. And if you feel led, share. But I'm so glad and I'm so grateful for you taking your time to come and listen. Hi, Sherry. To this word. And may we all walk away from this um, challenged and ready to roll. Roxanne, girly, we haven't talked forever. Okay, so this, when I said this has been kind of a long time coming, this has kind of been a long awaited word, but also just kind of recent as well. It all really kind of started with a vision that the Lord gave me. I want to say it was back in maybe 2017 or 2018. I can't remember exactly when. But this vision um, he gave me was, he kind of called it changing of the guard back then. Hi, Anne. Good to see you, sweetheart. And it was a different season, right? And so there was a changing of guard in that season. And what that season was a calling out of the church to be prepared and to be readied to go from church to the remnant. And this vision, I'll just kind of give you a brief synopsis of it because it'll help show what the Lord kind of relayed in that vision for me. This vision was of just people, and they were walking down this aisleway. And, some of them, looked, kind of confident. Some of them looked like scared. Some of them looked very downcast and burdened. And hey, Don, um, and I mean, there was just every emotion that you could imagine were on the faces of these people, and lining the aisleway were these massive, massive warrior angels. I mean, they compared to the people, they're like way up here, and the people looked about this big. And these angels lined the aisleway, and they were facing inward, and they were standing at attention as this group of people, it was countless people, right? Were walking down this aisle. And as I watched those people in this vision, I saw that their feet weren't touching the ground. But what I called at that time, I called it the glory fire because it looked like flames that they were walking on, and they were walking on that fire. And so that was kind of the synopsis of that vision, that the angels were standing at attention, watching the church come down that aisle. And the word that came at that moment of time was a changing of the guard. It was God calling the church to become the remnant, to become the bride. And that was back in 2017, 2018, right? So it was a call to a humility, a humbling, and a preparation. And then I want to say it was about maybe a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. I'm just kind of sitting in my quiet time, and the Lord brought this vision back to my memory. But this time he gave me a new vision. It was still that vision. It was still that aisleway. It was still those massive angel army, people, they were still facing in. But this vision was the remnant. This vision was no longer the church, and every person's face was facing forward, and their eyes were on the king, and they were not tiny in stature anymore. They were almost as tall as those army angels. And as I watched this amazing, mature remnant marching down that aisle, um, the the army angels that were once looking and standing forward, they then turned and they walked alongside the remnant. And I really felt that that was the beginning of this, um, what's the right word? Just kind of this call to action, that the remnant has now been matured. The ones that have been in this process over the last few years, 3, 4 years now, this this long, arduous process. There have been so many battles, and there have just been so many wars waged over the maturation process of all of us that are in the remnant. And we've all had varying degrees of that process, right? But we have now been so ready that the angels are able to fall into formation with us and walk down the aisle toward the king. And I felt that as we were walking forward, we're armed and we're ready for battle. We're ready to go and step into this next moment of time. And this next moment of time is pretty wild. Um, and I'm going to kind of pivot a little bit, um, because this is all gonna it's all gonna tie together here in a minute. So I've had that vision, right? And then back in November, yeah, November 1st of 2021, I had a couple of different dreams, but this particular one on the first, I did not share about the specifics of this dream. I just said I had this, just shared that I had a dream. And the Lord gave me a word from that dream, and it was called the tipping point. And at that moment of time, when I shared that word, I felt um, very strongly that that word, that tipping point word, was for a personal word, right? It was a personal prophetic word, but it was also a prophetic word for the church, the remnant, to grasp a hold of the tipping over of things that God was beginning to do. And since that word, I mean, we have begun to see the gradual tipping over of things. And part of that tipping over has been more of a revealing of truth, and a deeper revealing of our personal walk with the Lord, which is what was very much needed. It's been this kind of this tug of war between our flesh and our spirit saying, no, this is where we need to go, right? It's that finishing touch on that maturation of us as the remnant. And it's all been preparation. So I'm gonna share this dream that I had with you now. Hi, Darlene. Hey, Lise. Um, but I want to preface this by saying, I know I mean, I haven't been on social media much, but I'm willing to bet that there have already been quite a few broadcasts and words that are being put out there about the most recent events in the world. And so I'm not on here to say anything in a bragging kind of way. I've held on to this very privately for quite a while. And I did so because, well, that's what we're instructed to do, right? Um, but I'm going to share this, but I want to just preface this also by saying it doesn't matter where any of us land politically. It doesn't matter about any of that. I do not take lightly or dishonor anybody's life or position in this world. Okay. And I don't think that this would sound dishonoring, but I just kind of feel like since I am doing a broadcast, I need to just say that because for me, just kind of what it's been hitting home for me lately is that um, this was a life and a mother and a grandmother, and I want to just simply honor that. This isn't for some prophetic plug and try to do anything but that. Okay, and so anyway, so this dream that I had back on November 1st, it was probably one of the most realistic dreams I had ever experienced up until that point. Um, I don't even know how to have the words to describe it other than it felt very much like I was standing in this room. Like I was there. I felt the air kind of blowing in from the window. I could smell the flowers or the candles, that were in that room. I could hear the conversations being had in that room. It I had never experienced anything like that up until that point. And it was just very wild. But the basics of this dream was that it was Queen Elizabeth, and she was laying down on her bed, and as she laid there, I watched and heard her take her last breath, and then I woke up. And when I woke up, because it was so real, I just knew that when I, popped open my phone at whatever point in the day I did that, that was just probably going to be one of those headlines, that I was just going to read that in the headlines. It was just that real and that tangible. And of course, when it wasn't, I was like, okay, you don't want to see that, right? You don't want to see those headlines. Um, and so that's when I began to ask the Lord, like, what was that all about, right? Um, and that's when he began to talk to me about the tipping point. And like I said earlier, the word he gave me to share at that point in time, I think I didn't share it until December, um, was on a personal level and directing to the church, the body of Christ, to begin to intercede over all of these things that the Lord is going to begin to tip over. Not, I mean, it was for us personally, and it was for these man-made religious structures within the church that we needed to get rid of. Right? Again, this preparation and all that stuff. And I apologize if I'm repeating myself. But I also knew that dream was very significant, and that when that moment happened, it was going to be a tipping point on a global scale. And I just knew. And so that's, I think, why the Lord was like, now is the time. Because now is this, and I'm not going to specifically talk about that one thing, because this is a global thing. This is a nation's thing. This is a remnant thing, and how we steward ourselves as the remnant, right? A, in unity, B, in honor. We will begin to step into this changing of the guard. I mean, this is the beginning of many, many things about to unfold. And how we step into this. This isn't even, yes, we're stepping into a new season, but the word the Lord gave me, this is a new era. This is a new era. And this new era is very much that, oh shoot, is it First Corinthians? Yeah, First Corinthians 2:9 or Second Corinthians 2:9. Oh shoot. But it's the what no eye has seen and what no ear has heard. I've had that scripture ringing in my spirit multiple seasons throughout the last couple of years, but it really hit home and really dug itself deep into my spirit as the Lord began to kind of unpack this new era, and it's going to be, um, we've gone through this purifying, right? And we've gone through this shaking. And the Lord gave me a word a couple of months ago, maybe longer than that now, maybe are we at 6 months, maybe, where he was talking to me about making room. And so we have done that. We've been making room in our mindsets, in all of our religious traditions, in our own personal habitual rituals, right? This is his preparation to say, as I'm having you step into this new era, now that you've made room, I can blow in a new way, in a way you've never seen before, and speak in a way you've never heard before. And I believe that this is what, we are about to step into this new era as the remnant, as the church, being exactly who Jesus commissioned us to be. And there's this excitement over that, but every time I feel the excitement, I feel the weightiness of it. And there's just this moment of time that we're kind of suspended in right now, where I see the Lord weighing us. There is a heavy weight that we are carrying and that he is weighing us with in order to step forward, right? Because as we step forward, because we are stepping forward under such a heavy mantle of what we are being called to do in this next moment, this next season, but more importantly, this next era, there is this commissioning that I feel like we are standing in front of Jesus before his ascension at this moment of time, where he's breathing that spirit over us, that commissioning, where he said, you will do as I did and more. We don't even comprehend what that more is. And that is why God told us earlier this year to make room. Because if we think we're going to step forward into this next moment, carrying old traditional structures of thinking, traditional structures of doing things, then you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it. And you're going to, and in that trigger, knee jerk response that we tend to have, we all do it, right? We will try to box in a move of God. We will try to capture a moment that God just wants to leave as a moment. This isn't going to be something that we see happen and then all of a sudden we pitch a tent and call it revival. That is not the move of God that we are about to step into. So this is why right now in this suspended moment of time, he is weighing us. And the weight that we have to be functioning in is a heavy, heavy weight of honor and humility. Because as we step forward, I know this is going to sound crude, crass, and probably judgmental, and I don't intend it to be this way. But when we step into this place where God is going to move through us, This is not a moment that we make sure we have our GoPros rolling. This isn't a moment to make sure you capture on camera and go, oh, hey, this is my ministry. Look what I'm doing. Mm-mm. You'll be taken off the field. Sorry. Go sit the bench. If you're going to showboat, go sit the bench. But we look at what happened with the disciples after the ascension of Jesus. We talk about the Acts church and how we so want to emulate that. I think that is a beautiful goal for us to have. But as we make room, we're already there. God is already just waiting and weighing for us to step into it. But there has been, everything that he says and does has a time stamp on it. And now is that moment of time. And I believe that that is why he gave me that dream back in November. It was a preparation for a time to come. I knew that day that I woke up and that wasn't the headline, I knew it was for a future time. I didn't know when that was, right? But we aren't called to know the day and the time. We are called to understand the times and the seasons of God, okay? We can't get wrapped up in specifics and think we know it all. But we have to move and flow in the times and the seasons of God. And we have to have humility. And we need to walk under the weight, the very, very holy weight that God is setting on us at this moment of time. Because if we don't receive it in the proper way, then we're going to kind of have to go around that mountain again, right? And I don't know about you, but this last year, last 9 months, 10 months, whatever it's been of this preparation, it has been brutal. And it's been brutal because I have had to crucify my flesh over and over and over and over again. Our flesh loves to get in the way. And I heard this beautifully said by a gentleman by the name of Simon Breaker. I heard him say this the other day, and I said, I'm so going to repeat it to myself and share it with whoever I can share it with. And what he said, I'm probably going to misquote him, but it was something along the lines of this. The only way we are going to be able to stand is to have the posture of being laid down. We have to be laid down, humble at his feet, because none of this is about us anymore. We are long gone, right? All of us who know we are that remnant, we are long gone. Our flesh is long gone. And we have no problem being on the altar. But there's just this heavy weighting that he's doing right now. And I know that there is a celebration. It's a collision of a celebration and a very somber, heavy, holy reality to it. And I think as we are kind of beginning to close out this season and allow the Lord to begin to close out his suspension of this moment of time with each of us on an individual basis, there is just this coming to a reality of who we're going to be talking with more in this new era. I think we've all walked through a lot of healing. We're going to continue to do that, and so we've met Rafa in our preparation. We've met with Jaira. We talked about this morning on Lisa's broadcast, just his faithfulness. We've had a lot of our times where we've needed Father, and we need the righteous judge, his gavel to hit a lot of circumstances and situations in our lives and around our lives. But as I was writing just kind of these notes for tonight, I heard so loudly, and I had this this vision of this massive field. It looked like it could have been like a wheat field. And it was like at a sunrise. And I heard so loudly, the king is in the field. And it absolutely wrecked me. I still can't even say it without getting choked up. The king is in the field. And there is something so powerful when we acknowledge him as king. There's something so holy. And I've had that scripture, Psalm 24, I think it's verse 1, where it says, who may ascend the holy hill of the Lord? Those with clean hands and a pure heart. And that is us. And I know that our thoughts, and, I don't want to give credit, but the enemy does like to, right? Where our own thoughts on our daily basis are going, I messed up again. I messed up again. But what we need to do is remind ourselves, yes, I mess up on the daily. Yes, my flesh likes to get in the way on the daily, but I am clothed, I am covered in the righteousness of Christ. So I am the one that can and will ascend the holy hill of the Lord, because I do have clean hands and a pure heart. And as we step forward, we now are stepping into this pivotal realization that we're getting this boldness injected into us. Now, some of us don't have a problem with boldness, but some of us do, and that's okay. Because I heard somebody talking about that scripture where it talks about the meek shall inherit the earth, and they were saying meek was so poorly translated. They were saying meek was better translated as those who are carrying weapons, but have the how did they word it? But had the strength, the wisdom, and the discernment to keep their sword sheathed. That sounds like a mighty warrior to me, who knows when to battle and when to intercede and when to fast and when to prophesy and when to encourage and when to have communion and when to bow. That's the meek. Powerful. And I have to say that because even if you don't feel like a bold roaring lion, it's in you. And I know it's in you because you were created for this moment of time. You were set here. You were planned to be here for this moment of time because you have that warrior within you. And I'm saying all of this because I'm just going to be Captain Obvious. That as these things begin to unfold, the changing of the guard, we know because it's been prophesied, Old Testament to New Testament, prophesied about the latter days. That the darkness, the gross darkness, the famines and the floods and the pestilence and da 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 da. We were created to deal with it. Yes, it's prophesied. Yes, there are just things that will be, but we are called this moment to occupy until he returns. We were called here to war against that. We were here to occupy, to be a solution to the problem, a light in the darkness. We will have provision to give to where it's needed. If food is needed, we'll have it to give. We weren't created to be in the line of the soup line with the rest of the world. We are created to be a light in the dark place. And remember, we don't war here with things of the earth. We war in the spirit to change the things of the earth. And when we step into this place, this is where the depth and the breadth of Habakkuk 2:14 becomes a living, breathing reality, where the glory of God will be known, right, and seen as the waters cover the sea. It doesn't become that until we step into that place and be that solution and take down that giant and cast that thing out. You're going to begin to see and hear things happening every time you step into the room because of the authority that you walk in and who you carry. I have seen just over the last 6 to 8 months more demons manifest at the grocery store, at a park, wherever I go. Something begins to manifest. Has nothing to do with me. Has everything to do with the authority that I have when I step into that place and who I'm carrying. And I don't think it will ever stop messing me up, like in a good way, because it's like, oh, good. I get to step into a moment where I might get to help somebody get free. Because at the end of the day, what all this is about is not even us. Our occupation until he returns, the end game is so that none perish. That's why he came. That's why God gave his only begotten son. And if we can't love the most unlovable people on this earth, I'm not going to name them all, but the biggest P word that is going around right now, the war that's on our children, we have to love them too because they need free. I'm sure that's going to be a very unpopular opinion, but they're demonized and they need free. They're broken. Somebody broke them back when they were a kid. I'm just going to say it. Somebody broke them when they were a kid, and now that's all they know how to do. Light in a dark place, my friends. And it's not easy because my flesh says otherwise. Just going to be real. My flesh says the total opposite to that. But we are just in this this new era is going to be good, the bad, the beautiful, and the ugly. It's a collision, right? It's a collision. It's like a horrific storm. And yet, in that storm, after that storm is a rainbow, right? There's something beautiful that comes out of the ugly. And what God is wanting to do in and through us, because he's already done enough for us. Can I just say that? He will continue to do things for us. But we have moved beyond our immature transactional relationship with God. He's no longer Santa Claus, right? He's no longer our Christmas wish list, prayer list answerer. He is the king in the field. And I don't even have the words to articulate what I see. like I said, there's this real somber emotion that I feel, but blended into that is a celebration. It's such a bizarre mixture of emotions. It's kind of like, for lack of better example, it's kind of like when you're sitting. Maybe it's just me. I'll just preface that. When you're sitting at a funeral and you are absolutely shattered because there's a loved one there that you no longer see, and there's a sorrow that is tangible and indescribable. Yet, in the midst of your tears and heartbreak, you find something to laugh about. That's me. I find laughter in a lot of weird places. So, like I said, it might just be me that finds something to giggle about at a funeral. But that's this collision point. And for me, there's an excitement because there's something in me that says, you're seeing the king in the field because the king is about to come. Again, I don't know the time of season. Jesus doesn't even know that. I don't know the day or the time, I should say that. But I know times and seasons. And many of you are getting very sharpened in understanding times and seasons as well. Because we are all prepared for such a time as this. But I'm going to tell you that the main instruction right now, if you haven't done it yet, is to make room. Make room for all of the unknown spaces, places, and faces of God to show up in this moment of time so that we can see what we've never seen before and we can begin to hear things we've never heard before. You know, I think about that a lot in the context of John when he's seeing these things in heaven happen, right? When he's writing Revelation and he's trying to find a grid in his vocabulary to describe what he's seeing. And it kind of feels like that to me right now. And I know a lot of you are seers and many of you are feelers as well. And so I know you guys are kind of tracking with me with my stumbling here. But there's something massive. So the instruction now is, if you haven't made room yet, make room. All of our traditional responses we need to get rid of. All of our traditional articulations we need to get rid of. All of our traditional boxes and buildings and our habits, our habitual rituals that we just do by default, we need to get rid of. And then the next one is intercession. Our intercession and our listening is going to bring an agreement with heaven of the tearing down and the building up. And we're moving into a moment where when his voice says, I need you to go to this store, I need you to go to this gas station specifically, I need you to talk to this person specifically right now in the next 5 minutes, we have to move when he moves in an instant, because he's going to be giving us instructions to encounter people that need to be encountered or to keep us safe from something that's about to come. It's a war strategy, and we got to listen to the instructions. And if we are not in intercession, I'm not saying we have to be all weird about it, Okay. I intercede all day long when I'm talking to other people. I'm having conversations in my head, in my heart with the Lord. Don't get all weird. God's not weird, and Holy Spirit don't need a hype man. Don't be weird about it. But just know that our instructions are going to come in a moment and we have to move. See, our acts of obedience, I said this morning, I think, our acts of obedience fling wide open doors. They kick down doors that have been locked and blocked. But our obedience, our faith, our trust in God, I mean, it just does it as well as honor. Because I guarantee you, we are going to be coming up against many, many things that are the complete opposite of what the Lord is telling us to do or what He's showing us. It's not going to look like you think it's going to look. It is a full on, Lord, I trust you daily reminder. Lord, I trust you. I trust you. And I know that I know that I know that I heard you. I know what I saw. I know what you promised. I know where you're taking me. I know what I was called to do. I know what my task is at this moment of time. I know what I'm mantled to do. And I'm going to do it. And I promise you, many of us are going to be going up against the grain. We are square pegs in a round hole world. We were never meant to fit in. We weren't meant to look like, smell like, or sound like the earth. We were created to look, sound, and smell like heaven. And if you got something you got to wrestle out with God over that, wrestle with Him. He's good with that. That's why I'm walking with a couple of limps now. I've had lots of wrestling matches with God in this past season. It has not been easy. But the one thing that He has reminded me of is His faithfulness in the midst of it all. And He has also reminded me I'm not alone. And I just really felt like somebody needs to hear that. You might be feeling like you're in a moment of isolation. You might have felt and have actually been abandoned by people, whatever, whether it's been transitioned or just relational upheaval. You need to be reminded that you're not alone. And I need to remind you that you are very much needed here right now. We need you. I need you. Whew. King is in the field. And the changing of the guard has happened. And you're going to begin to see these things unfold. And the one thing that you cannot let creep in is fear. You cannot let fear weasel its way in to your thoughts, to your emotions, or into any circumstance. Fear is a thief of your armor. Fear is a thief of your weapons. And if you're really struggling right now, I'm going to tell you your most powerful weapon in the midst of fear is to praise. Don't even worry about picking your favorite worship song or praise song. Just make up your own song. Don't worry about the music. You make a holy sound, your own spirit worship. And I promise you, you will be re-armored in an instant, re-strengthened, emboldened, and ready to move forward. All right. I think that's all Holy Spirit wanted to do tonight. Oh, thank you, Linda. It feels good to be back, to be honest. It's been interesting, I'll tell you. But you do it when he tells you to do it. Oh, I pray this is, something that helps and maybe put some articulation or makes some sense to some things that maybe you guys have been seeing and hearing. And I would love to hear what you guys have been seeing and what you've been hearing, right? Because we all see in part and we all hear in part. And when we all begin to share this, it becomes this bigger picture that we can all stand back and look at and go, oh, that's what God's saying. This is what he's showing us. So tonight is one piece of the puzzle that he gave me. So I'm excited to see the other pieces of the puzzles that he's giving you guys, because all of you are hearing from him too. All of you are seeing things that he's showing you too, because he is speaking very loud and very clear right now. We just have to quiet ourselves and listen. So as we close out, I just want to speak healing over your bodies and over your minds. I want to speak an awakening over your dreams. That even though you've been dreaming, there's more for you to dream. So make sure you put a fresh journal next to your bed, because it's about to get wild. And if you haven't been writing, you need to make time to sit and write. That one's totally for me too. I know. But there's something about the night season that the Lord is really putting his hand on right now. And I'm going to tell you, dreaming has never used to be, that's a better way to put it. Dreaming never used to be the primary way that I heard from the Lord. It was just, one dream here or there. And every time it was, every time I did have a dream, I knew it was significant. But there are nuggets that he's going to be dropping into each and every one of us, right? It's that Joel 2. Oh shoot, I just forgot the actual address. Joel 2 something. Where it says, where the old men will dream dreams and the young men will see visions. That's not an age thing. It's a maturity thing. It's the maturation of your walk with the Lord. Old men, that's a mature walk, to get the dreams, to receive the dreams and know how to steward the dreams, how to write them down, write the vision, make it plain, write the revelation, make it plain, whatever translation you have of Habakkuk 2, I think. But writing the dreams, they're always instructional. And there's a deep dive, like a treasure find, when you receive these dreams. And it's this treasure hunt that you get to go on with the Lord when he's speaking to you in the imagery and the stories that he lays out before you. Obviously, the one that I had last November, there was no mystery behind that, okay? But I've had many that it was a mystery. And it's a fun ride to go through that. So there's something he's doing in our night seasons with our dreams. So get your journal, set it next to your bed. Don't do anything when you wake up. Just wake up and write it down. Even if it's like sloppy and all over the page, you'll go back and make sense of it later. But just get it written down so you don't forget. And don't go, oh, that made no sense at all, and not write it down. I've had so many that did not make any sense to me. I'm like, oh, that was a pizza dream. No, it wasn't. It was very significant. So, fresh journal, fresh dreams over you. And yes, Lise, that's right. The quiet whispers. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. I just want to bless you guys. Thank you. Thank you for coming on and spending the last almost hour with me, and just speak a fresh revelation over you, as we all journey into this new era together as we have been that guard that's changed that is moving forward. And we're going to see the change in the guard here on this earth as well. And we're going to know what to do with that as the Lord continues to speak to all of us and unfold all of that as we journey forward together. All right. God bless you guys. I love you. I love you. I love you. And I will see you sooner than later. God bless.